Okay, I am going to do a quick tutorial on how to crochet in the round, as in a tube. So I also have a tutorial on starting at the center out and you work like flat, but this is going to be a tube and how you join the little ends. This is going to be main color and contrasting color. In my patterns, that's how I distinguish. Other designers might use background color, color A, whatever they're calling it. The technique will be the same. So your pattern will tell you how many chains to start with. It'll either say it needs a repeat of 5 and 2, or it'll say you need 300 or whatever it is. My patterns, for example, usually suggest starting with a foundation single crochet. So we start with 2 chains and then we go back into that first chain, pull up a loop. This is going to be the chain at the bottom, and then this is the single crochet at the top. So we're going to insert our hook back under the 2 loops that was our chain, yarn over and we pull through the chain at the bottom, then yarn over and pull through 2. That's the single crochet. So we've made 2 single crochets. We insert it at the bottom. If you are chaining and single crocheting back, you'll need to chain an extra one for your turn. When you're doing foundation single crochet, you just make however many stitches as you need. For this example, I'm not actually making a pattern, I'm just showing you the techniques. So we're just going to chain enough that it allows us to make a tube without being so many stitches that it's boring to watch me crochet. That's the plan. Is that a good plan? You can tell me if you think my videos are boring. I mean, I might not enjoy the comment, but you can tell me and I'll try to make them more interesting next time. So this is the knot that we started with. We had chained 2. They don't count as anything now. The first stitch here, this is the chain at the bottom. This is the first single crochet. We've still got the V like on top. Looks like a normal single crochet. This back loop, front loop, just like normal. I'm going to do about 10, I don't know. Doesn't really matter because it's not a real pattern. So no, I guess I need more than 10. It's not big enough. Okay, so I have done 1, 2, 3, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. For no reason, just because. Now I want to make it a tube. I'm going to bring this around and we need to join these 2 ends together. So when we make our loop, our tube, the first thing we want to make sure before we join our tube is where this is. If it's out front when you join, it's going to be in an awkward spot. So you want it to be at the back. Then when you join, you grab that back loop. Where did my other color go? Here he is. We're just going to hook it on there, and a slip stitch goes through both, everything on the hook. This yellow, we can tighten it up a bit and we can bring it to the front. Essentially we're going to carry it just 1 slip stitch more. See, we've got our white here. This is our contrasting color. We do our slip stitch, chain, pull it tight, lock it in, joining, whatever you want to call it, it's locked in now. Make sure that your working yarn is at the back again. This is now going to be our first stitch as well. Normally, you'll be joining to this little chain that you had made here, and our first stitch would go in here. But because we didn't have any extra spots, our first row, we have to join it like this. So now we're going to do back loop single crochet for all 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. That's how many foundation single crochets I had used. That's how many row, well, this would have been row 0 in my patterns, so this will be row 1. Foundation counts as 0 because technically when you're reading the chart, it's off the chart. So now we have to make sure that we're not counting this as a stitch. That will be a confusing part for some of you if you are not familiar with your stitches and you're not sure when your last stitch was. This was our final stitch, and this was our joining spot. So we're going to ignore it, okay? So now that we have finished 12 stitches, in order to join, we're going to find the white, because we're using white, the slip stitch chain tightened spot. I know tight seems like a weird place. You want to go into the tight spot, but it keeps things neat. So really it is. That's the one you want to use. And I might have gotten excessive with my tightening. Makes it difficult, so find a balance. Anyway, now we're in. Now we're going to pick up the next color. If you had 3 colors, I suppose that would be interesting, but I always work with 2. So we're going back to the main color. At the back here, this was just our tail. He doesn't count as anything. We can just tuck him down so he doesn't get distracting. So this is the one we're working with. We're going to pick this one up now, and we're going to slip it through both the loops that are on the hook. And then the white one needs to be tightened and brought to the front. This one, you're just going to chain 1 and tighten it. Obviously, you want to get in that stitch next time when you're joining, so don't tighten it too crazy. But most people have a problem with being too loose rather than too tight. Once you've tightened it, you can move that white back out of the way. And your first stitch, you can see here, this was our first stitch. This was our first stitch. So that's the spot we're going to use. The back loop only if it's a single crochet. Or if it's a double crochet, you'll drop down and grab this loop. Now, because I don't actually have a pattern here, I'm just going to do another round of single crochet. I'm going to go in, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we wanted to, we can throw a double crochet. If you were reading a pattern, it would tell you when, but it's the same. Doesn't matter that you're doing it in a tube. You're still following the pattern the same. When you do a double crochet, you're skipping that single crochet at the back, right? So the concept doesn't change. You're still doing overlay mosaic crochet. The real problem or hard part is counting your stitches to make sure that you're not using the join as a stitch. So then you'd be adding stitches. So here's our final stitch is this big loop. We're going to use that one. If you're very unfamiliar with your stitches, you might think that you have another one here. That's not a stitch. Okay. This yellow is our joining spot. We're going to grab the back loop. We're going to grab our white, slip stitch it through. Then we're going to tighten everything up and carry it to the front so that we can chain 1 and make it all tight. If we had a double crochet right off the bat, this is our next stitch right here. The V is here. So we follow it down, and this would be the stitch right at the front. So double crochet, yarn over, do the double crochet. Then you could do 12 double crochets, you could do alternating, whatever the pattern is. The concept is just really this join. That's the problem. That's what we're going to show. When you're done, you can see how the bottom is open. You're going to need to sew that together, either with this tail or get some more yarn. And this, I would use, obviously this one's no good, but a bag, a pillow, that sort of thing, you would just flatten the bottom, sew it up, And then you'd have a nice opening at the top. You could stuff your pillow in or put a handle on, and that's a bag. Clearly you're going to want a few extra stitches. You're not going to make a bag with 12 stitches, but that is the concept. So big important takeaways are that this joining spot here, you want to make sure you're not adding stitches, and it is tight enough that it's not loose and looking like it's adding stitches. So that is my super quick tutorial. You will find it handy, hopefully. If you think I'm a horrible teacher, you can tell me, but I'd prefer if you would say, hey, this really helped. Let me know in the comments. Thanks, guys.